Weird Science
is the revolution.
Batman Superman World's Finest number 26, written by Mark Waid, Dan Mora on art, Tamra Bonvillain on colors, and Steve Wands on letters. And we're going to get the mites. And it was set up that somebody is killing them off. I have a feeling that Eric Shea is going to say this kind of the same thing. We're not really getting much. We're not getting a lot of story here in my mind. We're getting a lot of, hey, look at these mites. Look at the gags. But it's still not as bad as some other times when we get shit like this. It's really bad. At least there's something.
Look, the whole premise is we have some mysterious big bad that has all of these fanboy mites of the villains who are killing off the fanboy mites of the heroes. And we were left pretty much with Mr. Mxyzptlk and Bat-Mite, and like the idea they killed the Green Mite. He loved the Green Arrow and the Green Lantern, so he was just Green Mite. But you have all these different versions of the fanboy villains that are going to actually go to their villains while they're in the third dimension here and power them up magically. And you get to see some interesting things with the interesting characters for villains in this book that actually kind of propel the idea of this, because you wouldn't normally get to see it. The idea that you have an Abracadabra Mite, a Sinestro Mite, or just Sin Mite, and like a Paramite, a Parasite Mite. I'm like, it's kind of cool to see this, but there are just so many gags. Or even when you open up the book, it looks amazing. Don't get me wrong, the book looks so good. When Bat-Mite has to start this whole thing off by changing reality,
Bat-Mite
where
so much.
where the World's
really
Finest and Robin are just walking with an explosion behind them, where they all have on leather jackets and sunglasses, and like it looks so good. Is it needed? No, because even Batman's like, stop this shit. I can't be doing this right now.
I like the idea of these mites, and I do like where they do figure out. Listen, you can't have Bat-Mite hanging out with Batman. He's too much of a fanboy. He's going to get in the way. And I do like Superman actually explaining, like, you actually get, crazy enough, you actually get character work and progression for Bat-Mite in my mind, that he's not going to change it up, no. But I haven't seen at a point where usually you are just going to get gags. But I do like Bat-Mite and Superman hanging out, I think, is the highlight of the issue. And I also like Robin doing his deal. But the idea where you end up having Superman and like, there's Bat-Mite. I'm his biggest fan. Oh my God, I love him. I do this and that. And you have Superman, they're like, dude, you got to calm down a bit. And he's kind of teaching Bat-Mite how he might be able to help Batman and even be liked by Batman a little more, because he even says, I actually thought there was a little bit of feels with he just wants to be accepted and he just can't get to it. And we were talking about it, I guess, on the Patreon Spotlight, maybe when we were saying about the mites, the idea that Mxyzptlk, he's not like that. And you have Mark Waid really center on that, where Mixie says, I'm not nonsense like you. And even Superman says, he tries to mess with me, almost like he wishes that he had, somebody like a Bat-Mite. But it does end up, because people forget that. People think that the mites are just goofy or whatnot. And you were always there.
Well, while I was thinking about this, the idea where everything that we have with these, fifth dimensional beings besides from Mixie is so-and-so might. And I just hate that it's so overused and overblown. But I want to kind of come up with a classification for the fifth dimension, where if you are a fanboy of the superheroes of the third dimension, no, you are a mite. That's that's almost like let's say a slur.
So you're saying if you get your own name, then without mite involved, that means you up
like a Mixie. You are your own thing, or an antagonist to somebody who's not a fanboy of this person. So I feel like it's almost a title that's given to you in the fifth dimension because you're nonsense.
Nonsense, but isn't everything nonsense in the fifth dimension, Eric, that makes it normal?
No.
I do like it, because you could end up...
Bizarro World.
That would be the idea. This would be the cracking the code. Like, I did it, Eric. It's like Mite is just fan in the thing. It's Bat fan. You could do that. But yeah, you're right, though. And Mixie is different. And then they end up in... I don't mind having them say that out loud, because we've been saying it for a while now. You can't put Mixie in with a lot of these others. And in this, where you have, the mysterious deal, having this, it's just creating mites, because that's the easiest way to do it, to power up things.
Well, that is the easiest way, but you have this mysterious, cloaked figure. I don't know if you care about his cloak or not, but he has all of these, villain mites that are around him. And at one point in the fifth dimension, again, I don't know if you could say it's the same person, because every other depiction of this character is shrouded. You see two red eyes and that's it, but pretty much just shrouded, so you have no idea who this big bad of the story arc is. But at one point, when you do go to the fifth dimension, you see this insane-looking close-up on this guy's face.
Looks like the Joker with a lobotomy. That's
to me, it almost looks like a fifth-dimensional toy man, maybe, like a crazy-looking toy man.
With a lobotomy, right?
And he's building what looks like a clay figurine of a Catwoman mite. and he's going to send us some, even though we see the Catwoman mite in the background of something previously. But it looks like whoever this is are just creating other mites to be like the adversaries to our heroes. I don't know what the ultimate goal is, or if this is going to be like a Toyman mite, because he's even building toys, but just thinking about the idea of creating mites in the fifth dimension, or just imps, whatever you want to call them. And I'm like, this could be really cool because I want to see what the hell this is. I just don't know from all the little things that we have going on here if that shrouded, like, villainous figure who seems to be the head of the mites is actually this crazy ass freaking fifth dimensional person. It's just such a weird idea that we're keeping it secret until this one page, but it doesn't feel like it's a reveal.
Maybe it is a Toyman, fifth dimensional toy, and what you're seeing is that's the swerve that this is the Toyman who makes for the big bad. Like, you could even say, okay, a Toyman of the fifth dimension deal and imp is making the imps, and the big bad is there. Yeah, Toy Mite. And then so Mite Man, you end up where, hey, make me a Catwoman, and then he does it. So we're kind of led to believe that it's the big villain, but it would be weird to show a shrouded figure and then show him there, even though we're kind of debating what it is anyway. And what I thought was going to happen, I actually thought we were going to play with some crazy thing, and it would be something kind of along the lines of things that you ask at points of whether universes, like if we go to Earth 2, do they also have their own version of everything and whatnot? And so the fifth dimension, I wouldn't mind at this point where they kind of end up like, hey, there's that, and we get the opposite of the Bat-Mite, like the evil Bat-Mite, maybe play that, but it doesn't seem that you're going to get that.
In my mind, the fifth dimension, for how it works, it encompasses the entire multiverse. So if you have a Mite show up in some other one, they're all the same.
They say that, we want to make an evil Bat-Mite to go after Bat, or what would be a Bizarro Mite would be kind of funny, a Bizarre Mite, or whatever you would call it, but the idea of making these things, but they are just, you're getting mites of things that you wouldn't.
Paramite might be the best one here.
Oh, I like him in his diaper. I'm looking at it now.
No, just the idea. Instead of parasite, it's paramite.
I thought that was pretty good. I knew you were going to like that one. And you don't like the mites, but that's pretty cool. And again, you're going to get mites of things that we never saw mites for, in a way that I think that maybe by the end of this is going to be the crisis of infinite mites. And at the end, they kind of shut it all down because there are a lot of mites popping up. We had the Wonder Woman deal, and we also had the Nightwing.
Yeah, we have Night Mite and we have Wonder Mite that had just showed up, even though it should have been Wonder Tot.
Maybe Mark Waid's like, I think that we should get rid of this shit, and maybe this will be the way to do it.
When it's depicted here, the way it is, when you see all these villainous mites around that shrouded, whatever figure it is, it only really just comes across what we had in Tomasi's Super Sons, the gang, the aliens who had the super fans of the Earth villains who just took on that persona. That's all it really comes off to me. And there's no exactly. It doesn't really have the wow factor that I wanted to have.
Especially because Lex looks just like a little kid. I mean, I think most people, if you actually is pretty funny with that fat brain.
It's like an Elmer Fudd.
Yeah, he does look like Elmer. And so if you did read that Super Sons with the gang, you can't not see that and think that. That's what I thought as well. And again, there's still mites, but you're like, okay, there's Stroke Mite. Yeah, that might not be a good name for him. But
Death
yeah,
Mite.
Black Adam Mite. The thing is, it's so stupid that you just add Mite shit, yep. But I do kind of like some of it. Like, you see him and you're like, okay, that's kind of cool.
I like the Amazo Mite. I think he looks, I'm sorry, I'm not an Amazo, I'm a Metallo Mite.
Is that Cat? It's weird that that's Catwoman because she's in there in that group shot. Then, yeah. So maybe that's a weird Batgirl. Maybe Batgirl wouldn't be around. So yeah, because it's weird, like making another Catwoman. But he's there working his fucking deal. I'm a real Catwoman. They're gonna yell.
And I was really weirded out at one point because we have a big fight going on where Bat-Mite is teamed up with Superman to take on Abracadabra and the Abracadabra Mite, while Batman and Robin are going after Sinestro with Mxyzptlk. And you have one scene where Abracadabra uses magic on Superman. I turned the page and I didn't look at the credits, so I didn't know if Riley Rossmo had jumped in because this magical thing that's being done to Superman, it looks like Riley Rossmo drew it. I'm like, oh no, what happened? And I'm like, oh, thank God, it's just that one panel.
Yeah, because it's going. I do like, again, where you're playing the stuff Mark Waid with magic and things like that with Abra, and you end up having him, hey, Bat-Mite, can you make me a, something that
anti-magic suit?
Yeah, the magic out, and I like that when he does it. I really I had fun with the deal of that. I like Bat-Mite and Superman, especially when he makes that suit, and I thought we were going to go, amalgam suit again and stuff, but it's a bat suit. And he's like, they're not taking it up. I was going to give it to. I thought it was fun. It was cute.
It's fun.
And it continues the idea where if this was in another book, I'd say, what are we doing here? But this continues in this World's Finest that we are getting a ton of different characters and a ton of different things, and this kind of works out. And I thought it was better than I expected. I actually was worried, like you were, about the idea.
It goes on. Like, the mites, it's a little bit overblown for my liking, but the idea that you go into this where, like, Sinestro is actually taking on Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, and it's because of the Sin Mite that's with him that's, like, powering up Sinestro's, power, so it's making him be overpowerful to Hal Jordan to take him down. That's cool. And even the idea that you have this Earth 2 looking Robin costume when Robin asks Mixie for some superpowers, pretty much gets the powers of Superman, but gets like an ultimate like Earth 2 looking Robin
like
costume. And it looks so badass.
I like that. I thought that was so cool. Like that, the art thing of that looks so cool. And he's kind of grown up a bit, so he can kind of go, and he's all fired up. And I even like that idea, and I really like the way they depicted it in the art, where you have Mixie there, and he's kind of hanging, he's like, yeah, I'm going to look around. And he's like, don't do it. You're not ready. And you have that like zoom in and he freaks out. And even Batman freaks out too. And like, what have you done to him? And he's like, I didn't do anything. I warned him, you can't do that. So he has to get rid of. So again, it almost feels like the Space Hogs. Like you get it to then, but it was cool to see it. And it makes sense that Robin, Dick Grayson wouldn't be ready.
Superman got to keep his anti-magic armor as they all come together in Metropolis to take on Parasite and Paramite. The only problem I have with this, because Parasite, like, we've had a lot of Parasite throughout the years, but like, you never really get a real Rudy Jones in my mind for how it works out. Here you have a Rudy Jones that comes off looking like Venom for how powered up he is, for the power that Paramite has given him, and he looks so badass. But I will tell you at the end of it, where because of the power that Paramite has given him, he's able to feed off like hell. Why stop there? My new pal from the fifth dimension taught me an even better trick. If I feed off your mass and volume, I can literally pull the third dimension right out of you. Forget Banksy. And like, this is the perfect picture where we fed Parasite fed the third dimension off our heroes to now they're just graffiti on the wall. And I'm like, might be a little much.
They look like those like wall decals that you put up. Definitely. Those things cool. Like right next to him, he also did it to Michael Jordan. But in that, they do call him...
Parasite looks so good.
But they call him Jenkins.
Yeah, that's wrong.
It's weird. Yeah, they messed up. It's definitely Rudy, the way that he looks. That's the thing is,
if they are trying to go off the idea where Jenkins, like the original Parasite for, I guess, what they want to do for the time, would be Jensen.
Mm-hmm, yeah, so, and it looks like Rudy. So,
yeah.
The whole play seemed off there. Something went wrong there. But here's the thing, too, and we haven't said it for a while because we haven't had it as much. Remember when Joshua Williamson was doing the World's Finest book, and we got so sick of each issue was just Superman stroking back. Remember, it was just like, man, you're my best friend, dude. Hey, you're my best friend. And they just kept doing it. We got so sick of it.
Aren't Superman and Batman great?
And when they were separated, you just have Superman being Flava Flav to Batman and vice versa. We haven't really had it in this, but I did like it when we did get it, when Batmite he's so sad.
Well, this makes sense for that whole idea of talking up Batman to Superman.
Yeah, and he says, I wish that Batman was here. He'd be able to figure this out. And Superman legitimately says, I wish he was here too. He would, but we're going to have to deal with this. And I like that. I like the idea that there's a Superman that even admits that, yeah, he could use Batman. And there's a lot of times that Batman will say the same with it, but it's not like before it just was that. It was just that over and over and over. And I like this. When he realizes he's in a bat suit, it was pretty fun. He's actually like, oh god, this is a bat suit.
Now, let's say we get done this whole Mite arc and we stop whatever fifth dimensional problems that we have going on here. The little bit that Superman does talk to Batman, I say a little bit, just this little bit that I want to bring up here, but he doesn't appreciate fanboys, but what he does appreciate is assets. Think of that. So I'm like, wouldn't it be kind of cool if Bat might actually just double down on like what Superman told him and was like, I'm going to help Batman to the best degree going forward for like an arc or so, something like that.
I'd love
something
it.
where he becomes like a magical herald all in the background who's just trying to help Batman. And I'm like, that could be a fun.
Yeah, and again, that's character progression of a character that I'd never, ever thought would get character progression because they always show up as a joke. But if they did have it where even the idea where then something really big happens that you need, like, oh my God, Batman, I need your fifth dimension magic. He's like, no, Superman said that you just went. He's like making gadgets and shit. I don't need a gadget. Get me out of it. It'd be real fun. And it would be a nice little deal. I don't know if we're going to get it.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, but it would be cool. And I do appreciate that in this. They took a little time to actually make them. They're not just characters, Eric. They're characters. Oh, yeah. I actually like that. I like the idea where, yeah, they're fanboys and doing this and they're kind of goofy, but they are things, and you see them kind of being more than just the fanboy in Superman, and him helping Superman. It's not like he hates Superman, but he really, really wants to help Batman. And Mixie, he just misses him. He always is. But I do like that play where Mixie's like, I kind of mess around with Superman. Superman says he's like always trying to cause problems for me. I wonder, Superman probably has to sit there and like, why me? Like, why is it that I get the who wants to mess around? And you do have a full setup. I think it's very obvious that when you end up telling Robin, hey, Robin, the way we get rid of Mixie is you say his name, make him say his name backwards. And you do have Dick Grayson. He's constantly mispronouncing Mixie's name front ways, but he's going to end up at some point mispronouncing it backwards, and that's how you're going to get Mixie out of there. But that's kind of fun. It always is fun with that, but that definitely is what's going to happen. He's going to say, man, that's how you say it. And then, no, you dummy, you can't. And he'll say it, and like, oh, what was me? And off he goes. But I hope that as they go off this time, because I do expect them to help out a lot here, I want to have the one time where Mixie gets, as he's disappearing, and they say thank you to him, and he has a tear. And I may as well. I'm getting very emotional. Getting very emotional lately. I don't know what it is. I usually don't have any emotions or
smoke
compassion.
From your kids just wafting up to your freaking studio right now?
It may be. I thank you for calling it a studio, Eric. It makes it a lot fancier. I'm looking at this shithole. You have really you've upped the ante here.
I might cry.
Yeah, like, oh my God, look at you. No, I actually I don't know. Some of these comics are getting a little bit, but you have to do character work for that, and I think they're. Mark Waid is doing that here in a way that I never thought we would. And I'm telling you, I didn't shed a tear. I like seeing Parasite just finally. Parasite's like, fuck all of you. You always screw me.
Not Rudy Jones.
No, Jenkins. And he even, throws shit at Banksy, which I'm all about, Eric. That jerk. I think you're Banksy. Once I'm trying to reveal that.
What did Banksy ever do to you?
I don't know. He's all shredding shit and doing his punking and pranking. I don't need that. What is this guy? Guy makes so much bank, as they say. He makes Banksy. And then the next thing you know, the painting goes into the fucking shredder and people are losing their goddamn minds. We don't need that, Eric. We got problems already here. We don't need Banksy trying to liven up the joint. I don't need that shit, Banksy. Go to hell, Banksy. I hope he's listening. Is he listening, Eric? Is there even a slight percentage chance there is them, right? Banksy. He's going to.
I don't know who Banksy is, Jim.
Banksy's that artist that does all that wacky shit.
The thing is, I don't know who Banksy is. I don't know what his interests are, so there's no way I could possibly know.
That is true. Maybe he's listening. I better watch myself. Next thing, I'm going to get shredded. Right?
Get Banksy'd.
I'm going to get shredded. Probably in a review on the Apple Podcast. Right? That's where you shred them, Eric. But what do you give this?
Ultimately, like I said for the previous issue, you can have fun with this book, but I think you can have a lot more fun with this book than you can in the previous issue because of what you're doing here. Because how often are you going to get Superman versus, Abracadabra, Robin versus Sinestro, and then all three to team up to take on an ultra-powerful Parasite at the end? It's a bit goofy here and there, which takes me a little bit out of the book, because I'm just not a Mite fan, and every time they show up, it's like, oh, here we go again.
I have a song about that, Eric.
But the thing is that this is one of DC's best-looking books, and I think it's just so fun to read, even for stuff that you're not even a fan of. It's just a good time. I'm ultimately, I think, going to go with a 7.5 out of 10. I could go higher, but I want to.
I'm going higher.
I want to be a negative Nancy or
negative
nasty,
Eric. Negative nasty, you are, because I'm going to go 8 again. I'm going to go 8, and I'm going to go a little higher because I did like this. I think more than the Superman. I'm going to go 8.2. I'll go with, and why I'm going to tell you one of the things about this book, and we kind of. Because it's the lay of the land, also we just came out of a Kingdom Come deal, and you kind of forget that this is that kind of goofy Silver Age book. You don't forget it. But when things like this happen, it actually fits better in this book than maybe the Kingdom Come stuff did.
Weird science
is the revolution.